4 of our daily NFL show. We're going NFL five times a week starting now, well, starting this week, and then we're going to run this all the way through football season, and we might continue on all the way and just go year-round NFL shows. We still might do some recorded. We keep thinking that we should, and like days like today where we're kind of all over the place would have been a great day to have a recorded one to just be able to throw out there, but we didn't do it. So instead, we're just going to have a short show and just talk about, we're all just doing our homework. We're all just doing our homework. Yesterday, we talked about, I talked about the NFL head coaching changes. And a lot of it, it wasn't just the head coaching changes, it was the coordinator changes too. So like, the Eagles in Jay's division, the two head coaches came out of the Eagles organization. They're offensive and defensive coordinators. They got to replace both those guys. And it's the same thing with players when you do free agency. So Aaron Rodgers out of Green Bay, Jordan Love's got to replace him. And then also, now you go down the depth chart there, and it's Jordan Love's not the backup anymore. Now you got a different guy. So it goes all the way down the food chain. Historically, in the NFL, a little different than baseball and basketball, the free agent signing, unless you get a bunch of them, usually hurts the team that loses the guy a lot more than it helps the team that gets the guy. It's always been like this, but we'll have to see. A lot of people saying for Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl or nothing for the Jets. I think it's nothing. How about you, Jay?
I'm going nothing as well. I do think they'll probably make the playoffs and be viable, but they're not coming out of that AFC. No way. Not with the Bengals, not with Kansas City and Buffalo. All I think teams that are head and shoulders better than the Jets. And then that's not even including the teams that are right there along with the Jets. So do I think they improved and took a step forward? I do. But will that leap be to the Super Bowl? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think to me, like, so the Jets are also hard knocks. Finally traded Denzel Mims.
Yep.
That was a big one, but Aaron Rodgers comes with a big price tag too. It's not like he gave the Jets a discount to sign him. So there's other areas where they probably need help, where they didn't necessarily get the help, but Aaron Rodgers is one of a bunch of free agents out there that signed with other teams. We're just going to go at a very high level on this. Yeah, these Major League Baseball with negative run lines and all that other stuff, and we're not even past the trade deadline. In baseball, once we get past the trade deadline, this could be the worst year ever with run lines that I could see, because I never remember seeing this many run lines of negative odds in baseball. I think Aaron Rodgers is a good player. I just don't think they have the offensive line to get him home. And I think that's going to be part of the problem there. I like the coaching staff in New York. I like his wide receivers that he has for the most part, but don't love the don't love the situation.
Yeah, but Aaron, I think that I agree with what you said. I think the Packers are going to feel it more than the Jets are going to feel it. I got the Jets, fighting and being competitive in the AFC, but I think the Packers have a legitimate shot to go to the bottom of their division. I think the Bears take a step forward, and I like the Minnesota Vikings to possibly win it. And I think that the who else is in that division? I just drew a blank. The Lions are going to be viable in that as well. So I think the Packers take a severe step back. I'm not sold on Jordan Love. I don't think he's going to be a guy to take them to the next level this year. When you lose back to back MVP, you're going to feel those things, especially starting a guy for his first year. So I think they're going to go through some growing pains year one with Jordan Love being the starter. And then the Jets, yeah, they got A-Rod, but I don't think that the leap is going to be as big as many are thinking. I just don't see it. And I'm with Mitch. They have a lot. They have some offensive weapons, and with Brees Hall coming back, with you know Garrett Wilson on the outside, but will they be able to protect him like Green Bay did? I don't know, and that's yet to be seen.
Yeah, I think this will be the this will be the best set of receivers he's had, and probably the best defense that he's had in a while. But the offensive line, I'm not feeling it. So yeah, not a great shake here for Rodgers. I want to look at some of the other free agents that happened around the league too. We're
I
going to
was
keep this
finna
show
throw that too. I was finna
fairly
throw him that.
brief, but we'll just go with a couple quick ones. Derek Carr, 4 years, $150 million in New Orleans. That is a lot of money with $100 million guaranteed to a guy that was basically cast off in Las Vegas. I don't know. I don't. He's almost 32 years old. And, he wasn't able to win in the Raiders. But the thing with the Raiders, he didn't really have the wide receivers. He has Olave, and he's got Michael Thomas, and he's got Kamara. So he kind of has what he should have had in Las Vegas So if they would have had Ruggs with, oh boy, the guy from the Packers, awesome receiver.
Javante Adams.
Devontae Adams. If they had Devontae Adams and Ruggs, that's a different story, right? And then, you got a good tight end in there like they had, then you're in business. But here in New Orleans, he actually does have all that. So, well, he's got no excuses here. They have a decent offensive line too. In this one, he got $60 million up front on the signing, and they're in for $100 million on this guy. That is a commitment.
Yep.
$37.5 million a year.
Yep. Saints, quote unquote, think they got their guy. Derek Carr, I think he's in most year he was middle of the road, maybe a little better than we gave him credit for with those bad Raiders teams. And then they just changed the regime on him. And that's what happened in Vegas. Yeah, he wasn't playing at a top tier level, but they changed the regime and they wanted to get their guys in, kind of how you said Sean Payton might do in Denver this year. When you come in and tear down, that first year is not really a tear down. The first year is you got to deal with what you have in the building. And then the second year is the tear down and you get your guys. And that's what the Raiders are really going through right now. So I understand him leaving. Now going to the Saints. The Saints have a legitimate shot to win this division and are probably should be big favorites to do so. I think their defense is probably one of the best in their division. And if Carr is, that top 15-ish guy that he's been in his career, then they should win this division with the weapons he has around him. Nobody else is really threatening in that division. Tampa also has a new quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Actually, matter of fact, every team in this division this year will have a new quarterback starting. So I think this division is definitely up for the grabs, and he will be the quarterback in this division with the most experience. So I understand why New Orleans did it, and I kind of like it for New Orleans as well.
To me, it was a lot to give to a guy that I don't think has really proved that he can get the team over the hump. I think
That's
for him, it's a chance to prove it, and they're obviously committed to it. So he's going to get his chance. Looking at some of these other additions, we'll go down the list and then come back up a little bit. But I want to address this one. I think one of the best free agent signings was Orlando Brown by the Cincinnati Bengals. Plug and play. On the offensive line is where you're going to get a guy that's going to make a difference right out of the gate. It's like he doesn't have to really learn the systems and the routes and all those, get that chemistry with the quarterback and all that other stuff. I mean, this guy, he's an offensive tackle. You plug him in there, he protects the blind side. He's an all pro. They paid $64 million for 4 years for him. I think that's $31 million of it guaranteed. That's cheap.
Yep. Y'all know I'm a Bengals guy. I love watching. I've watched every Bengals game last year. Like, this is a team I pay a lot of attention to. And early in the season last year, man, Joe Burrow was getting lit up. They were lighting him up. He was on the ground damn near every play. As the season went on, his offensive line did get better. They started playing togetherness. You could see the cohesiveness start to come together, and he didn't get hit as much. But when you have $1 million quarterback or a multi-million dollar quarterback like they do, arguably the second best quarterback in the league, you want to protect that investment, especially when it's already had knee injuries and things like that. and going to get Orlando Brown to be a staple on that offensive line, make it even better, I think was a great move for the Bengals. And I think that was probably number one on their free agency list this coming up offseason.
Got a couple offensive linemen here for Denver. Mike McGlinchey, a right tackle from the San Francisco 49ers, 5 years, 87.5 million, 50 million guaranteed, 35 million up front, and average salary is 17.5 million. They also added Ben Powers, a guard from the Ravens. So Denver looking, two of the highest priced free agents that went in the offseason were these two guys. So Denver looking for immediate help on the offensive line. This is Sean Payton saying, I got to at least have something to work with here. Like my quarterbacks at least got to have time to execute the plays. I think when you look at an investment like Russell Wilson, like they made last year, you got to, we could all say, well, he was a flop and all of those things, and he didn't adjust to the system, and that it's pretty hard when you're running for your life. And I
Yep.
think that was probably what he said, and that's probably what showed up on the tape. I think if it didn't show up on the tape, you have a new head coach. It's pretty much a free excuse to say, you know what, we made a mistake. Let's cut bait and move forward. But they're not doing that. They're beefing up the offensive line. I think, I don't think Sean Payton brings instantaneous results in Denver, but I do think this is a step in the right direction.
And that's where I would go with it as well. I agree with you. Beefing up the line for Russell Wilson to have a little more time, I think will definitely be him. Early in his career, Russell was Mr. Just run around and make a play happen, throw it deep, and somehow Lockett was there or one of those guys. But as he gets older in his career, man, he's not as mobile, has to be in the pocket a little more, and he's a shorter guy. So he's going to need some time to kind of see everything. And so adding not one, but two offensive linemen to a struggling offensive line, I think was pretty high on Denver's offseason to-do list as well.
Carolina adding Adam Thielen, Miles Sanders, and Hayden Hurst. I'm not sure if Thielen's a long-term solution, but you have a rookie quarterback in there to have a guy that can, with good set of hands like that. Hayden Hurst, another guy with a good set of hands, comes from working with a young QB in Joe Burrow, and then Miles Sanders, a guy that shown that he can get chunk plays for the Eagles. So I think as a trio, I like it. I don't love any of them individually because Thielen's had the injury problems. Hurst, I believe, had a bad fumble, and that's why he kind of was on the outs in Cincinnati. But the Bengals 2 years ago were able to hold the team together pretty well after the Super Bowl appearance. They lost some guys here, but I think there's also a natural progression to losing guys from the team, and that is some guys you kind of are okay with losing because they're going to want a lot of money, and you have other guys that can play in those spots. And I think the Bengals had that luxury of not having to repair too much in recent years. And, this year they're going to have some new faces.
Yep. I think, as like you said, as a trio, it's pretty good getting some veterans in the building for your veteran quarterback that can help him offensively. I didn't like that they got rid of their best wide receiver in DJ Moore, the Panthers. That was a head scratcher because he was their best player. He was definitely a difference maker.
That touchdown he got last year for me was unbelievable.
I still have nightmares about that. I was on Atlanta.
That was on the other side. That was awesome. It was like that's like they say, people say, well, why don't you play fantasy football? I said, I have a fantasy. DJ Moore catching the touchdown pass to salvage a win when I thought I was dead in the water,
That was an absolute nightmare.
It is a little bit, but Carolina obviously part of a process there. So they're going to have to, be somewhat, diligent in how they spend their money. Thielen wasn't a lot of money.
Yep. I like Thielen, a veteran wide receiver to help out Bryce Young, and kind of how we talked about a minute ago in a division that is wide open. I would say the Saints are the favorites, but I wouldn't say they're just going to win it for sure. I think this division's wide open, and if things come together, watch out for the Panthers.
Well, I know one that you want to talk about is Odell Beckham Jr. to the Ravens. Here's a guy we haven't seen him since the Super Bowl. The thing that we have to remember about him is that he was a flop in Cleveland after really playing well with the Giants, and it was a bad Giants team. He had Daniel Jones there most of the time, and his better passes that he caught were from Saquon Barkley on running back option plays. The thing is that in LA, as a member of the Rams, when he had other talent around him, he was really, really good. And I'll tell you, he was on his way to becoming an MVP candidate in that Super Bowl because he was just going off. He hasn't played since. The Ravens, I mean, these guys always seem to get the most out of everybody. I don't know.
I wanna I wanna say this is gonna be good for the Ravens. But it just depends, man. Coming off another knee injury, I love Odell. I'm a huge Odell fan, and I want to see him be great for the Ravens. Again, the Ravens are more of a running team, and we know Odell does have some diva-ish wide receiver issues. So when the Ravens get to running the football and carrying on, will he be okay if he's not getting the targets he may think he deserves? And will his body be able to hold up over the entire course of an NFL season? Are just my few concerns. Other than that, I think he's going to fit right in with Baltimore and Lamar Jackson and crew.
But I believe he only counts 3.9 million against the cap, even though he's a $15 million player. So that's a pretty good thing. It's like if you could get him and he only, in the grand scheme of thing, money is like, for these NFL teams, they would spend, triple the cap in most of these markets if they were allowed to. But you get a guy that counts just minimally against the cap, and I think it's worth the risk. It's only a 1 year deal. He's gonna get 15 million anyway you slice it. It's all guaranteed money. But I think Odell's generally a guy that likes to prove it on the field. He's not
Yep.
he didn't. It's not like he had a little toe injury and he came off injured, or anything like that. He was seriously injured. He was mad. I mean, he was really upset. He got
Yep.
a ring and he didn't even care. He would rather have been on the field when the final thing went off as a player. You know,
Yep.
so I think he was more upset than anything else. But that game came down to the last to right down to the end. I honestly think that if he was in there, it probably wouldn't have because he was open, man. He was having a day.
He was
Um,
having a great day.
he
Another
was.
free agent I want to ask you about, Jimmy Garoppolo to Vegas.
Oh man, it's like it's another bad move by this Raiders team. They've just made bad move after bad move in Oakland or in Vegas. I still think they're in Oakland. Maybe moving to Vegas wasn't a good move either. But the thing is, 45 million guaranteed on a 72,750,000 deal. You have to believe that the Raiders, I mean, I don't understand why they don't draft a quarterback, at this point. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't love that thing. I don't love that. And the fact that he's one of the highest paid free agents of this class, sixth highest paid free agent in the class, the total size of the deal, I don't see it. I personally, the odd thing is this, right? He has played in a Super Bowl. He has gotten a team to the Super Bowl. He has gotten a team deep into the playoffs. He's done all of those things, but we don't see him as a guy that can actually get you there.
So, a few things. I got a few thoughts on this one. I agree with you. This was terrible. I understand why they did it, but it was terrible. So you chase off a guy that's just mediocre, kind of, looked at as a middle of the pack guy that is your guy. You made him. You molded him. Every stat that he has is in your jersey and car. And just to go replace him with somebody who is, in my opinion, not better, somebody who is more injury prone, he's hurt right now. And the arguably one of the best offensive coaches in the league didn't want him. Replace him with the rookie. Like, I understand why they did it. Him and Josh McDaniels go back to New England. But I don't know, man. I'm not the Raiders. They always make me scratch my head. I'm going to continue to scratch my head, and this might be the year of the all the Garoppolo haters just get what they love because it doesn't look like they're going to re-sign Josh Jacobs. So he's going to have no running game with only one wide receiver and a terrible offensive line, and he's already injury prone. So be on the lookout for somebody else to be playing quarterback most of the season because Jimmy Garoppolo is one of those guys where if his pinky hurts, he's not playing. So be on the lookout for somebody else to be taking majority of the snaps for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I don't see him being the answer. Not short term, not long term. That's for sure. But really, that those are the key ones. A lot of other guys in here. Um, Hargrave going from the Eagles to the 49ers. The Eagles had a monster draft. They're not going to really even feel that. I think that, Tremaine Edmonds, here's one where, you know, it's basically they traded players, the Bears and the Bills. Tremaine Edmonds and Little. So I'm not really sure how that will how that will pan out. Tremaine Edmonds was awesome, but I thought he was a better tandem with Matt Milano. He was kind of a good tandem player in Chicago. I mean, in Buffalo. And now here he is in Chicago, which, I think most defensive players would love to play in Chicago. It's kind of like the place, right?
Some about it.
Um, for them. But, Buffalo, I think it's one of those things that probably hurts Buffalo maybe more than it helps Chicago. And he's the seventh highest paid free agent to come down the
One
pipe in
more
this
off
year.
the top of my head. Baker to
It's Leonard Floyd, not Little, who was it's Leonard
okay, okay,
Floyd.
okay.
Leonard
I was
Floyd.
low key thinking back in my head.
Yeah. I got it's I
It
Leonard
happens.
Floyd to the Bills and it's Edmonds. Man, so
Edmonds to Bears.
before your time there was a tight end on the Dolphins. His name was Farrell Edmonds. He was Dan Marino's tight end, one of them,
Hmm.
throughout the years. And these are all his kids. So,
For real?
yeah, they're all his kids. These Edmonds kids are all his.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Baker Mayfield to Tampa. Will he fit? Or will Trask beat him out? Or will they even be viable? Or what? He got some weapons on the outside. But can he do what Brady did? No, of course. And Brady got them to 8-9. So how big of a regression do you see for Baker and the Bucks?
I think the Bucks could be drafted near the top next year. I think when you load up a team in this year in this NFL, we saw it with the Rams the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots with Goff and all those free agents that they had. You can load up with free agents, but you have to pay the piper eventually with the salary cap and all that other stuff. Eventually, it all comes back to get you. And I think for the Bucks, they sold out with Tom Brady and Gronk and all that basic All Star team that they had. I mean, when you start picking up, the defensive linemen that they had, guys that are just kind of like one and
Dominican
done.
Sue
Yeah,
and
and the Dominican Sue and stuff. That's
yeah.
like that's when you basically I'm all in that we got to win right now because it's like you're gonna have to pay the piper on all those guys because they don't come cheap even though they only play one season with you. So
Fair enough.
I think they know Tampa Bay knows that and Baker's an easy scapegoat for them.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But I think we might see Kyle Trask in there too. I think we're going to see some. I think we'll see. Usually with Baker Mayfield, we get to see everybody that plays quarterback for that team. As the frustration builds. So I think it's a good situation for him too. There's a lot. It seems that you know for a lot of NFL backup QBs, all it takes is for them to get their chance. There are other guys that are they're always just going to be career backups. Chase Daniel, and we have these guys that's just what they're going to be. Kellen Moore was like that for the Cowboys. That's what he was. But you have other guys that kind of they get in there they get their opportunity and all of a sudden they become a star. And we're going to find out if Jordan Love is that guy this season. I think to me, the Packers are going to be one of the more interesting teams out there. Not because I think they're going somewhere, but I think it'll be because so the Packers, this might even predate you, Jay. The Packers were in this exact same situation a few years ago. It was the exact same where they had a
Favre and Rodgers.
quarterback that they drafted in the first round who sat on the bench, and everyone was kind of like, we had seen him come in. He had been okay in some spots. He had been terrible. Like when he first came on, he was terrible. Then he came in other spots. He was kind of okay, and it turned out to be, a couple years later they were winning the Super Bowl. So, you know, it's you never
I,
know.
I know. No love for Jordan Love for me. Last in the division is my prediction. We'll see though. Under win total, Green Bay Packers. I love talking football with the crew, man. Back at it. Be back tomorrow to talk some more. Just went through the free agents today. Um, and yeah.
I appreciate it, Jay. Thanks for joining us. It kind of like we knew we were going to do the show, and then we kind of like, man, I don't know if we can do it today. And then we're kind of like, let's just do one, And we did. I'm glad that we did. And we'll be back tomorrow to close out the week. We'll be a little bit more prepared. I think it was more fun. We get some graphics up here. Like I could add graphics on a lot of this stuff. I just didn't have time to prepare. All transparency. I had a doctor's appointment. Jay's got the dentist tomorrow, so we'll have to see what condition he's in. But it doesn't matter. It's preseason for all of us. We're just here to basically talk to each other, do some homework, and let you guys join in.
Yes, sir.